Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you so much for joining the Florida Apex Accelerator at UCF for another webinar. Today, we are in our expert speaker series with an SBIR series that we have. We did a part one, how to get started with SBIRs on October 10th. And today, it's a continuation of that SBIR series of part two. Today, we'll be talking about tips and tricks to get a phase one SBIR or SBIR award. And today's presentation will also be presented by Dr. Tracy Boyd. So before we do go ahead and get into our presentation today, I do just want to go ahead and go over a few housekeeping rules with you all. So the very first thing, when you enter the chat, you'll probably have noticed this is not like a Zoom or Teams meeting. You are automatically off of camera and you're muted. Any questions that you have throughout the presentation, there's a chat box in the little panel on the right-hand side that you are able to put your questions in. Please feel free to ask questions at any point throughout the conversation and try to make sure that they're as specific as possible. So just in case we don't get to it right then, when we are able to address it, we can answer you most efficiently and accurately. Secondly, we do appreciate you all attending here today, investing your time and coming to learn new information. There is a feedback survey that is super important for us to be able to continue to provide these no-cost resources to you. So if you do enjoy the information from the presentation today, or if you do find that there is an area that we can improve in, we definitely would appreciate your feedback, as this information may be shared with some of our funding partners to help us to continue to support these resources. And last but certainly not least, if you are have your phone in your hand, if you're not joining on your phone and you're joining on a computer or another device, go ahead and take a moment. If you're not already a client of the Apex Accelerators, formerly known as the PTAC, please go ahead and scan the QR code and become a client today. There's no obligation, there's no cost associated with it. Essentially, what this does is give you open access to one-on-one consulting with our consultants here. And then moving along, just to give you a little bit of information about who we are. So as I mentioned, we are the Florida Apex Accelerators. We are hosted out of the University of Central Florida, but we are formerly known as the PTAC, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So if you are new to this change and you're like, hey, I thought you guys were PTAC, that's what happened in November of 2022. The DoD announced a rebrand for us. So we have a little bit of different name. Apex is not really a cool acronym like PTAC was, but it is a destination. It's the apex of your government contracting career, when you are able to secure an actual government contract, and that is what we're here to help you do. We're hosted out of 9 different universities, as you can see on this Florida map here. All of these different universities have a Apex Accelerator team there. Our state office is located in Pensacola at the University of West Florida, and we are all co-located with the Florida SBDC network to help provide you all with additional business development resources. So not only do we focus the Apex on government contracting, but we utilize our resource partners at the SBDC to also help you with business development as well. That includes business plan writing, strategic planning, access to capital. So if you're looking to also get help with that, that is something that we're very well capable of helping you get assistance with. We have a team of about 13 consultants statewide, and we're funded in part by the Department of Defense. And our core services are one-on-one no-cost consulting, training events and workshops like the ones that we have here today. We are kind of on a hybrid schedule. We'll see what 2024 holds, if we'll have some more in-person events. But we have in 2023 been operating kind of in person and online, providing you guys with a mix to just give you a good mix of those to meet you in the middle, depending on what your preference is. And we offer networking support and research support. So if you need help with any of those, we are the perfect people for you. And then going into our team. So my name is Kayla Gale. I actually work for the SBDC. I'm an associate consultant here, and I essentially help to put together a lot of the webinars and resources with the Apex Accelerator team. And then we have Steve South, who's our program manager. And we also have Kara Vernon. She's a procurement specialist here, and she is actually on the call today. Now, as I did tell you before, we do have a very awesome speaker today. Her name is Dr. Tracy Boyd. She is the SBIR and STTR coordinator in outreach at the Central Florida Tech Grove. And before we go ahead and move into her portion of the presentation, we do just want to start with some polls and kind of warm you guys up. We do this to understand where you are and how we can further help you and just understand the audience that we're talking to. So the very first question that we have here today is, have you submitted a phase one SBIR proposal? You can answer, yes, I have, and I feel or felt confident about it. I have not, but I'm not sure. I have, but I'm not sure I did it right. I have not, or I don't know, how am I supposed to do that? So no answer is a wrong answer. We just kind of want to see where you guys are and how we can help. Okay, it looks like a little bit more than half of you have voted. Don't feel shy. We're going to go ahead and vote. Get your vote in so that way we can see where you guys are. All righty, so about 80% of you. I'm going to give you about 2 more seconds. It is a select only one choice, so you only have one choice to select. All righty, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll for you all. And just to share the results, so we have about 64% of you who say, I have not submitted an SBIR proposal. And then we have 17% of you who say, how am I supposed to do that? Another 11% say I have, but I'm not sure I did it right. And then 8% say I have, and I feel or felt confident about the submission. Okay, well, that's great. Thank you all so much. And now the next question is a follow-up to those of you who have submitted an SBIR proposal. Have you been awarded a SBIR proposal, a phase one SBIR proposal? And you can either choose yes or no. So I know all of you won't answer because I know some of you or a lot of you have not submitted, but for those of you who have you been awarded a phase one SBIR? All right, give a few more moments to those of you who have. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close out the poll. And just to share these results, we have 79% of you who say no, and then another 21% of you who say yes. So pretty good, awesome for the guys who said yes. And then for those of you who said no, you are in the perfect place because today Dr. Tracy is going to go over a lot of tips for you all to help you in the next phase to go ahead and learn how to get awarded these actual SBIR awards. So now, without further ado, I am going to go ahead and pass it on to Dr. Tracy Boyd, who's going to begin our presentation for today. If you are ready, go ahead and put in the chat, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. And Dr. Tracy, please feel free to go ahead and take over. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's great. What a great introduction. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're doing well. And make sure I go to the next slide. There we go. This is tips and tricks to getting a phase one SBIR award. So our last webinar was about what a SBIR is, why you should go after it, and some general information about SBIRs, and a little tiny bit of a game plan of when you're going to go after a SBIR. This one is some tips and tricks about getting that phase one SBIR award, usually the first award. So the first phase one SBIR award is between 45 and 110K. It matters. It matters what agency you're going. It matters if it's open topic or closed topic. There's all kinds. But the cool thing about a SBIR award is that you get a client. You get an automatic, what is it here? Hang on. There we go. We get an automatic client, because you're already working with someone, right, in the DoD or government space, or if you're doing a different kind of SBIR, you already have a client that you're working with, so that's fantastic. Also, on the DoD side, the phase one is usually a feasibility study to just figure out if this is even possible. Is this ask even possible? Can we do this solution? So you don't necessarily have to create a prototype for phase one, but you have to figure out if it's even doable. So that's nice because you get research and development funds. And who am I? I am Dr. Tracy Boyd. I am the SBIR and STTR coordinator and outreach with the Central Florida Tech Grove. And at the Tech Grove, if you haven't been or haven't heard of us, We are an innovation hub and a tech bridge. So basically what we do is that we work with our DoD clients and we work with people like you that own small businesses and we connect them together. We have events, we have things like this where we do some education. I particularly work doing small business funding opportunities. I find them, including a lot with SBIRs, and share those with people like you. I've been a proposal manager. I've helped people win SBIRs. I've done large proposals, and I've been in the DoD tech area for about 20 years. I've also worked with startups and small businesses and all kinds of stuff. And a fun fact, I actually started out as a software engineer. So the first tip, which I know you're dying to know, is to be ready. So I work with a lot of companies that are looking to get a SBIR or a SITR, an STTR. And the biggest thing is to be ready because it takes time. You have to get all your registrations done. You have to figure out how, for example, how you're going to do your budget and finance and how you're going to do that for your SBIR. It's good to do that beforehand so you're ready. And it's really important. So one of the hiccups that I've run into is somebody will see a wonderful topic. They'll say, oh, this is a great SBIR topic, right? Because the DoD, they list their topics, which are problems they're having, and they need somebody to solve them, like you. But they're not ready. They haven't, their SAM.gov registration isn't through, they haven't been certified. They're not quite ready. So they have to wait for the next opportunity, which may or may not align with what they're doing. So the first thing to do is to get ready. And what do they say about trees? They say the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best is today. It's the same thing with service. The best time to register was months ago. The next best is right now, is to get that process started. And what's fantastic is the Apex Accelerator, who's hosting this, is here to help. And they do it at no cost and they can help you. And they're really great because they know all the gotchas, right? Personally, I had a business and I registered on SAM.gov and it took me quite a few tries because I just kept either not reading the question correctly or I didn't know exactly what they were asking for. And if I had worked with the Apex Accelerator, it would have been much faster turnaround. So another thing that you need to do before and try to get as ready as possible is educate yourself. This is a great place to start. And the webinar last week, and then we have a panel in a few weeks. That's a great place to start. However, there's so much to know. And so there's some wonderful places online where you can educate yourself. For example, there's the SBIR.gov tutorials. They're adding to them, they're changing them. They're very good resources just to start learning about the SBIR process, and they even break it down pretty well of what you need to know first. So that's a great place to start. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this to know. The other part is the budget and financial. So I get a lot of questions about this, especially when somebody sees a topic they like, they've already registered, they've done all the registrations. Fantastic. The SBIR topics come out. They are ready to go, but they don't know how to do the finance piece. And that's absolutely something you can learn right when, here we go. That's absolutely something that you can learn during the SBIR topic release, which is 60 days. But if you can learn it before, it'll help you quite a bit. That way you can just start off just getting that topic finished, getting your proposal finished. Another wonderful tip is to know the schedule. So there is the BAA schedule, which is the Broad Agency Announcement. And that's an excellent thing to know what that is. This is one that I picked up from Navy SBIR, actually, like navysbir.com or .gov, sorry, navysbir.gov. And so they have this schedule out, and these are the broad agency announcements, which are where they do the SBIR topics. This is a good thing. What I do is I put these in my calendar, especially that pre-release date, and make sure that I'm ready to look at those topics, because you want to start as soon as possible, because again, that's a 60-day turnaround. So it's pretty fast. So day one, pre-release, right? And so for example, the next pre-release is the end of November. Then day 30 is the open. That's where you can start submitting if you'd like. And then day 60 is close. So it's really good to get on top of it. Know your schedule, put calendar reminders in, so that way you know exactly when they get released. And this is some of the SBIR STTR registrations. I got this from the SBIR.gov website, and it's pretty good. It lists, you have to have the DUNS, the SAM, the SBA.gov. It's like registry spelled different. Anyways, but this is a really great graphic to know exactly what you need, especially for the DoD SBIRs. But they have NASA on here, they have the NSF, the DOE, all kinds. And by the way, you're going to get this PowerPoint in a PDF version. So you'll also have that. Tip 2, get your company ready. This is something that is a gotcha that I've seen several times, is that if your company isn't ready to go after a SBIR, you can run into some hurdles. So even though SBIR submission and STTR submission is online, you write a proposal, you submit it. It's also important to be able to define your company well. So for example, you're a small business. You need to know what value you bring in a simple statement, right? 1 to 2 sentences is fantastic. Do your market research. That's a thing I hear all the time, by the way. I've heard it with pitch competitions, with all kinds of know your market research. Know your market. So what I mean by that too is competitive analysis. So know what competitors you have, what they're doing, how that's different. And a place that you can figure some of that stuff out is with the Apex Accelerator. They will help you do that. Also, know how you're different. So know how you're different than everybody else, and be able to say that very simply, because that's something, if you know all these things, you can work that into your proposal. And you want to answer your evaluators' questions before they ask them, right? There is a evaluator criteria that is on SBIR.gov, which you can look at. But you want to be able, you don't want somebody to think, oh, how is your company different than company B? And they don't have an answer. You want to make it very obvious. And a website, right? So your website doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be flashy. What it needs to have is things like that value statement, why you're different, very quickly what you do as a company, and your contact information. So for me, one of the things I do is that I actually try to find small businesses to meet some of government representatives' needs, some of the DoD's needs, right? And I have a hard time doing that if somebody has a website but they don't have any contact information. Or they'll have a general email address, but they won't have a name, or they won't have an email address that goes directly to a person. So how is somebody supposed to find you? And it's something that's easy to overlook, right? So make sure you have your contact information in there. And then also LinkedIn. That's also something we use a lot, is we go to LinkedIn. So make sure your LinkedIn information is updated. You can put your company information also in LinkedIn. Again, it doesn't have to be flashy. It just needs to be simple, and it needs to contain the information people need. And that goes to tip 3. And this is something I also don't see small businesses always doing, is building relationships with their market. And that is very important, especially with the tip 2, or get your company ready, right? If you know all these things, then it will be easy to build relationships. It'll be really easy for people to know exactly what to do. Oh, I need someone to do AI cybersecurity. I'm like, oh, I know this company because they told me that's exactly what they did, and they told me why they're different than everybody else and who they've worked with. So it's really fantastic to know, to be able to say that information when you're building relationships. And you're in luck because you're in Central Florida. And we have a ton of local, well, not all of you are in Central Florida, but if you are in Central Florida, we have a ton of local organizations. If you're not in Central Florida, that's okay too, because they are all over, right? Um, One of the examples is that I put here for Central Florida is you can find a list of different events on the simulationinformation.com page. And at the bottom, it's an example of their list for October and November. And these are different things going on. In November, they don't list ITSEC, but that's one of the biggest events around Central Florida with the DoD, especially in training and simulation. And that is the end of November. There is also something called PALTS, which is procurement acquisition lead time. So this is a way that government representatives can talk about what is coming up, like what contracts they think are coming up, what problems are needed solving, what RFPs, requests for proposals, or RFIs, requests for information are coming out. These are normally larger things. They're not usually for really small companies. There will be, or usually, there's some small business set-asides, but those are for companies that are a little bit bigger, but they're still considered small. The great thing about Pulse for small businesses is that you get to meet people. You get to meet these government representatives. You get to figure out what they're interested in and start creating those relationships. Sometimes you can even meet bigger companies for doing partnerships and things like that. So it's a good place to get started. And a lot of the Pulse are either listed on the government websites. For example, I think NOC is listed on their website, but also SAM.gov publishes the Pulse too. And you're going to get a handout with this relationship information too, so that you have one place to kind of look for it. And another thing, it's not about building relationships, but I wanted to make sure this was a reminder for me to talk about it, is open topics versus closed topics. So most DoD SBIRs are closed topics, which means they have a problem they need solved, and they list it. However, there are open topics, which mean they're not sure what problems they need to solve. Why don't you pitch them a problem, and then they'll see if they want to fund it. These can be good. However, you need to build relationships to know what problem they need solved. That's why I put it here. It's important to know what problems they even want solved, because they're not going to fund something that they don't need solving, right? So they're a little more difficult open topics, I think, than just the regular topics, but it's something to keep an eye out, especially if you build those relationships, which is so important. Now, I've been talking for a bit. What questions do you guys have so far?
All right. Well, we do have a question. Someone is asking, they are a veteran small business and they're in staffing and recruiting. Would they be eligible for such like a government contract or a SBIR award?
If there is a topic that is related to what you do, then absolutely. I haven't seen many recruiting topics. I saw one, and I've heard of one in the past, so maybe there'll be more, but I haven't seen too many like that. However, keep your eyes open. You never know. We did something recently at Tech Grove about innovative ways or gamifying recruiting. It was interesting. So there might be some more things in there. But yeah, look at the topics, see if there's something that applies to you and applies to your background and your company's background.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. It looks like that's all the questions we have now, but don't be shy, guys. Oh, wait, someone else asked a question. How do I go about, uh, I'm assuming to get in SAM, and what's the cost?
Oh, perfect. Well, it's free. That's easy. It's free, but it's going to cost your time, right? Um, but there's no fee to do sam.gov. And how do you go about it? Well, if I was you, I would really contact Apex Accelerator and I would get them to help you. It's at no cost and they know exactly what to do and how to help you. But if you want to do a quick look, you can go to sam.gov or you can type in Google sam.gov registration, how to, and it will start showing you how to do that a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Tracy. Looks like that's all the questions we have for now, but feel free if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat.
Yeah, please do. Okay, tip 4. So we talked, I didn't put this in here. Let me go back here. So at the bottom of the screen, you have day 1 is pre-release, day 3, so when the topics drop, the first day is pre-release, right? And then then day 30 is when they're open, when you can submit your proposals. And day 60 is close. You cannot submit after they're closed. There's just no way. So with that, the tip 4 is your topic release day, like how to plan it, what to do, because that first few days or first day is really important. Um, One is that you find the topics so that you're interested in. So what's going to happen? You're going to have your calendar invite and you're going to go, okay, I need to go. You'll have your website ready, you'll have everything, and you go and you'll look at your topics that just got released. And my advice is look at them. You can look at the titles, but don't just look at the titles because sometimes the titles don't match the actual tech uh, problem that they're having because the titles are very, very specific, right? And find the topics that you're interested in. Find the topics that align with your business, that can help further your business and something you have experience in or your team does. And do that on days 1 to 3 after that pre-release. So as soon as they come out. Then you brainstorm innovative solutions. Now, small SBIR stands for Small Business Innovative Research. So you got to make sure that the solution is innovative. There is something new you're bringing to the table. Also, when you do this, a really, really great thing to do, and this comes from my proposal management experience, identify the risks of the solutions. Just jot them down really quickly. Identify any assumptions you're making. That's really important. And also identify any questions you have. So that way you'll know what you need to ask, what you need to be leery of, what risk you need to mitigate. Because even though these are innovative and risk go together, the government likes to mitigate risk whenever possible. So make sure you have a plan on those risks of how to try to mitigate them. Then you're going, or before then, actually, you're going to read the references. So each topic has a title, a description, information, and then most of them have references at the bottom. And some of them even have the web address. Some of them you have to go to Google and find them, but read the references. It's so important. That's a big thing I hear from TPOCs is they get frustrated when people contact them about a SBIR topic and they have not read the references. It's a really good way to stand out, but not stand out in a good way. So make sure you read the references. Make sure you read the topic. I usually read the topic at least 3 times because it's crammed full of information. And if there's an acronym I don't know, if there's something I'm not 100% sure about, I will absolutely look into it and figure that out. And then you can also research the TPOCs. So the TPOCs are the technical points of contact, and they're usually listed, not always, but they're usually listed on the SBIR topic. And you can research them and see if they have done any other SBIR topics in the past. You can figure out what they've been interested in before, and it can give you a little bit of insight. You can also research the topic itself or research some of the very specific systems that it might reference so that you can get an idea of what problem they're really trying to solve. Because sometimes the problem that's laid out in the description is not the exact problem they want to solve. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So this is something I haven't heard most SBIR training or information sessions talk about. And it is the point of view of the technical point of contact. So with the SBIR, you're going to have a TPOC or a technical point of contact for your SBIR. Sometimes you have more than one, but normally it's one, might be two. And that person is the one that wrote the topic, usually wrote the topic, is the one that's passionate about getting the problem solved, and is the one that is going to help you be successful. And you're hopefully going to help that TPOC be successful and solve the problem, right? So it's really important to understand that a technical point of contact's point of view. One, they have very, very minimal time. A SBIR is small potatoes to them. They have other things they're doing. This is very small. They get very small funding to be able to manage it. You want to make it as easy as possible for them. Two, it took them a year, typically, to get their topic approved. So this is a problem they've been having for a year. They had to do a write-up. They had to justify why this is important. They had to justify why they should get a topic. They went through all the hoops, and now it's finally printed. Now it's finally open, and now they might be able to get their problem solved. And you are solving a problem, usually that they have. This person, Sam or Bob or Sarah, this is a problem that they have, and they need it solved, and they're asking you to solve it. So there's a very human element to these SBIRs, is the TPOC. And to take that into consideration, you're already doing better than most. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that TPOCs get very, very little time on these SBIR topics. And to make that really easy for them, that's the best thing you can do. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk a little bit about how you do the TPOC appointments. All right, so you've went through, you've looked for a topic. And actually, before we go on, does anybody have any questions with what we talked about?
It looks like we have a few questions probably from the previous section. Someone asked, are the events that you talked about, the networking events, are they usually free?
Yes, it's a great question, and they are usually free, and most of them are.
And then another person asked, is there an SBA registration or SBIR registration? And if so, where do we register?
Okay, good questions. On the last topic, by the way, all of Tech Grove events are free. So just so you know. There is a different kind of SBIR registration you have to do. Can absolutely get you that website. Again, I think Apex Accelerator is great because they'll tell you the list, kind of how you need to do it and the order you need to do it. And they do this stuff all the time. So they're a great way to get started.
It's SBIR.gov is the main page for SBIR. And you're registered with the SBA if you've gone to sam.gov and completed your registration and have a cage code and you qualify as a small business, then you're automatically moved into the SBA. It's considered registered. If you do have a cage code and you want to go look your company up in the dynamic small business search, it's dsbs.sba.gov. Please reach out to Apex and we'd be glad to help you with that.
Thank you. That's great information.
So thank you, Kara and Tracy. Looks like that's all the questions we have for now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so when you've went through, you've chosen your topic of your SBIR or several topics. Let's say you chose one. And you're like, this is great. This is perfect. This aligns with my business. It aligns with what I need to do. This is fantastic. You've brainstormed. You've done the research. You've read the references. You've went through all that. And within 5 to 10 days, I would suggest you reach out to the TPOC, because a lot of times they'll have their email addresses at the bottom. And let me go back here so we can really quickly at the bottom of the screen. So you have pre-release of your SBIR topic, which is day 1, and then day 30 is open, which you can submit your proposal. You can talk to the TPOC between day 1 and day 29. So keep that in mind. That's why you want to do it as soon as possible. For one, you want to be able to talk to them as soon as possible so you can get started. But 2, you want to be able to get on their schedule so you can talk to them in that 30-day window. Where were we? Here we go. And this is something I see a lot of people not know how to do, or they're not doing it in a way that benefits them, right? This is a gotcha. So it's scheduling that appointment. How do you do it? What does it look like? Because this is your first impression, probably with that TPOC. Unless you've been building relationships and you've gotten to know that TPOC, this will be your first impression with them. So it's really important. And remember, your goal is to make their life easy and to solve their problem. That's your goal. And to get awarded, right? You don't want to get awarded. So it's usually an email. So you write an email and you keep it short. You're going to use bullets. It's going to be more of an executive summary. And you're going to include why they should talk to you, right? Just give them a little very brief summary, which is, again, why we talked about getting your company ready with your value statement, what you do, that whole thing. In the subject, make sure you include the topic number. I would usually put SBIR topic number discussion, something like that. And then I might put my company name at the end in the subject line, because keep in mind, they're probably going to get 100, 200 emails. So you want to make sure that they can find your email very quickly. And then what I do is I include 3 dates and times for a 20 to 30 minute meeting that they can choose from. I will also tell them that I am very flexible. So if those times do not work, please let me know what would work. But I don't want to put the onus completely on them to give me dates and times, right? I want to give them some choices and then be flexible if those don't work. Something I have seen several times is that people not including time zones. Always include your time zones. They don't know where you are. You don't know where they are. You don't want them to have to figure out that you're in California and they're in DC. And then they've agreed to a time that you don't have time, right? So always include time zones. Be flexible. So if they have other times that work for them, you'd be able to meet those times. And this is another thing I've seen that people miss, is have a really good email signature block where it's informative. It says your name, it says your position, or your role, it says your company, it says your phone number, the phone number they can call to get in contact with you. Like, sometimes I'll just put my cell phone number, especially for something like this, because if they for some reason call them, I want them to be able to call me, right, and get a hold of me. And put your company website. You could even put like a tiny tagline down there about your company so that they know who they're talking to and what you do. And then before the call, I write down the team's questions, the potential solutions, the assumptions, and the risks so that I know. And I will even have, sometimes I'll even like star a particular question and be like, this is why this one's really important. Or because you're only going to get 20, 30 minutes with these people. Sometimes if it's really going well, it can go 45 minutes and they'll extend it. I always ask if we're close to time, say, I want to be respectful of your time, but it seems like we have a little more to talk about. Do you have a little more time to chat? And if you don't, then that's fine. So keep that in mind, that you want to ask the things up front. You also want to keep those questions open-ended as possible, right? So that they can answer it and you listen and figure out exactly what they need. Here we go. Does anybody have any, because this is kind of important. I feel like this gets missed a lot, how to do these appointments. Does anybody have any questions about this particular TPOC appointments? Like how to do that, what that looks like?
Someone asked, if I'm a remote company, would that make any difference when not having a physical address?
Well, you do have to have a physical address for sam.gov. I learned that lesson. So you definitely have to have that. And that's, the government requires that because they want to know where you're keeping your documents. But it's not going to make a difference with meeting the TPOC. All these are virtual. I've never seen one of these TPOC appointments in person. That's not to say it never happens. I've just never seen it. They're all virtual. So you can be located anywhere in the United States.
Awesome, thank you. Next question, someone asked, how do you get a TPOC assigned after getting the invitation for a full proposal?
So I think there is, there are some non-DoD SBIRs that do that, where you submit kind of a white paper or a short summary, and then they invite you to do a proposal. That might be National Institute of Health, it might be the Science Foundation, I can't remember, but that's their process. I'm mainly talking about the DoD, and they don't do pre-submission like that. You just write a proposal right off the bat. However, I'm going to put a caveat on this one. Open topics are vastly different, especially with the different agencies you work with. For example, Air Force does something called AFWorks, and that's very different. And they used to do, and I think it changes all the time, but they used to do where you would submit a presentation and then they would give you, I think it was like 45K, which is really, it was the lower end of phase one. And then anyway, so they're all a little different, but the majority of DoD regular SBIR topics is that they ask you for a proposal. However, every agency is different. So the National Institute of Health, the Department of Energy, things like that, they do it a little differently.
Thank you. And then the next question we have is, we did a call with the topic owners. They were very accommodating. Does this mean they are also the people who will review our submission?
So for the DoD side, because the other ones, SBIR is a huge program. It's ginormous. DoD has the most topics and the most funding because they have the biggest budget. So the government takes 3% of their budget and puts it into the SBIR program. The TPOCs that you communicate with are the ones that are going to review it. I don't believe they're the only ones that are going to review your topic, but they are going to review, they're going to evaluate your topic. Sometimes they have different people evaluate for, oh, this is a great question because now I get to tell you guys about this. So they will have different people evaluate for format. So that's important to get that right. But the TPOC that you talk to on the DoD side, they are also ones that evaluate the proposals. They may not be the only ones, but they are one of them.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Tracy. Another question someone asked is, we are a contract manufacturer. Can we partner with other companies applying? If a small business is creating a product through their SBIR process and needs it built from the contract manufacturer, can we work together on it?
Yeah, partnering is a great idea. Absolutely. Phase one, you can even do it because you're doing a feasibility study to even see if that would work. Yeah, There are a little bit of rules with partnering about percentages, especially if it's a small business with a large business. So make sure you look at that and look at the eligibility requirements, which are listed in that SBIR.gov page. But yeah, partnering is great. Even if two small businesses want to partner together, like that's a great idea too, because now you're able to work together. The SBIR and the STTR, you can partner with, for example, a university. And UCF offers a special program that you can partner with UCF and you can get some wonderful subject matter experts. And there is a local program at UCF and I think UF. I'm not going to say that for sure. I think it's UF, but UCF will definitely has a program where they will match some of those funds that are going to the university. There are some requirements for that. I think with these SBIRs, you can only do 30%. You can only give them 30%, and with STTRs, 40 is required when you work with like UCF or a school like that. It's a great way because you might have an idea. For example, there was one topic I was looking at, and they wanted to extend battery life for wearable health monitoring devices. I think that's an open topic right now, actually. And if you were, if you're like, oh, we have experience doing that, we kind of know how to do that, but we really need to work with someone that is really great at this type of battery. I don't know. Obviously, it's not my area of expertise, right? But let's say that you need a subject matter expert. Working with a university where they have the subject matter experts is a great way to be able to combine that information together and create a great partnership.
Thank you for answering that, Tracy. And our last question we have is, what is the difference or relationship between BAA and a SBIR?
BAA is a broad agency announcement, and that's where they announce, for example, with the SBIRs, they announce the topics with the broad agency announcement. That's why it's called. That's a great question. Good catch. Yeah, so all the ones on the screen, those are called the BAA. So those are the broad agency announcements where they will announce that the topics are open.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's all the questions that we have for now.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. These are great. These are great questions. So keep them coming. All right, so tip 7 is a call. So this is the call with your TPOC or TPOCs. And let me say a little bit more about the appointment. Let's say you reach out to someone and they don't get back to you. I'd reach out to them again and they don't get back to you. I would reach out to them one more time. And if they still don't get back to you, because I've had this happen, it's probably an answer. They probably know someone they want to go ahead and work with and they don't, or they're not interested in this topic anymore. So keep that in mind, that if you don't get an answer, it could be that it's the best answer because you know that they're not looking to either fund another organization or they're not looking to, or they're just not very interested in this topic. I've had that happen a few times. I consider it a gift because I don't want to waste my company's resources on going after something that's unwinnable. All right, so just keep that in mind. I do follow up. I send them at least 3 emails because they get lost. Again, they might get hundreds if the topic is really popular. And then if I have to send them another email, I'll kind of reiterate what I just said, and then I might give them an additional reason of why they should talk to me. For example, oh, we've had this kind of experience which directly relates to this topic. Or, hey, we would like to talk to you about this kind of solution. Have you looked into this technology? Something to make them just a little interested. Okay, but let's say that you've done all of that. You have sent the email, sent them a great email. They're like, yes, let's talk. I'm excited to talk to you. You've set up the call. You have the call. Now what? Because this is your first impression with this TPOC. So it sounds a little strange, but I have seen where companies do not do this first step. They want to talk at the TPOC instead of listening to the TPOC. And the TPOC wants to hear your great ideas, but really they want the problem solved, right? And remember, they wrote that topic a year ago. So the odds of that topic being changed or something changing with it could absolutely be true. So you definitely want to listen to what they have to say. So what I do is I listen, and I take lots and lots of notes. Because you can't record the call, which would be nice sometimes. But you take lots of notes and listen very carefully because they might tell you something that you really need to know. And they just might drop it really casually, but it's something you need to know. Also ask a lot of open-ended questions so that they can answer it. And if they don't answer it in the way that you thought they should answer it, really listen, because they might be telling you something that's unexpected, something that wasn't anywhere in the topic description. Also, it's a really great time to do a good introduction. To say, hey, I'm Dr. Tracy Boyd. This is my company. We have data expertise, or we work on AI and cybersecurity. And I saw your topic and it aligned quite closely with some of the work I did with XYZ. I would love to talk to you about it. That's a really great way to tell them who you are, what you do, and why you should talk. And it put a lot of information in a short sentence. Because your job on this call is to create a relationship and decide if you're going to do the proposal or not. That's your job for this call, really. And honestly, I think the relationship is almost more important than the go, no go. Creating that relationship can, and we'll get into that in a minute, can be so important. Hang on. Okay, tip 8, the proposal plan. So you've done the call and you've decided to go forward. Like, this sounds great. They're very interested. They seem excited. The TPOC seems excited. You think your solution's going to go well. You think it's doable. It's feasible. It's in line with what you want your business to do. It's perfect. It's great. So one of the things that you need to make sure you come up with is your win strategy. Like, what is going to win this proposal? Like, what were they most interested in? What does that look like? And then you want to mitigate those risks. Remember the risks that you documented and probably documented maybe again after that phone call? You want to mitigate those risks. And during that phone call with the TPOC, you might have talked a little bit about risk, or, hey, what do you think about this? Or I see this could be a challenge. What do you think? That's a great way to talk about some of those risks too in that phone call. Address assumptions. It's really, really easy to have assumptions about something. So let me talk to you about that using that wearable device, right? So somebody has a topic, they want to increase the battery life for maybe a heart monitor that soldiers wear out in the field, right? Okay, so you're assuming, oh, okay, we can totally do that. But maybe what you don't assume is what temperatures is the device going to be, in? How does that work? How long is it going to be stored before it's actually used? There's going to be a lot of assumptions you're going to make that you need to make sure you identify them and talk about them in the proposal. Your budget, figuring out, they're going to tell you how much they're going to give you for a SBIR. Don't leave money on the table. But there is a really good way to do your budget, because you're going to have to show them your budget and what that's going to look like. And Apex Accelerator, I believe, is good at kind of helping with that. There's also some tutorials online about how to do that and finances and things like that, which is a good idea to get prep beforehand. But hey, if you have to do it now, then that's what you need to do. Identify any partnerships, like the wonderful question we just had about partners. Do you need a subject matter expert, a SME, in a particular field to help? This is a great time. Do you need someone to help you help make a prototype, make something physical? It's a great time to talk about that. Past performance. I put this one in because I get this question a lot. Do I have to have past performance to do a SBIR? It's a yes and no question. So these TPOCs want somebody with experience in the area to solve their problem. Makes sense. Like if I hire someone to come and do work on my home, I want them to have some experience being able to do work on houses, right? Or if I need some plumbing done, I want to hire a plumber that has experience. But I'm not necessarily going to call his references, right, and make sure. So for big contracts and proposals, they want past performance. They want, oh, we did this contract and this is how it went. We made this widget and this is how it went. For these, what they need is your personal experience can be your past performance, right? What you're good at, what your team is great at, what you've done in the past as far as individuals, that can qualify. And then this is a big one. I've seen people go through the process, do everything they need to do, and they've missed something. There's just something small they missed, and they don't get awarded. So make sure that you review the agency's SBIR proposal requirements. Hopefully you've done it before this. You need to review it every time to make sure if there's any changes, because they don't really announce changes. They just expect you to go look. So I would review them again and make sure your format's good, make sure the way you're submitting it's right. Just make sure, because what you don't want to do is to spend all this time and effort and then you just didn't click one box and now your proposal's thrown out. Nobody wants that. So just make sure you review it again. Okay, any questions about the proposal plan or the call with the TPOC?
Yes, someone asked, how much time would you recommend using to prepare a DoD SBIR Phase 1 proposal? Thinking about this both for planning purposes, for time and resources, but also for managing your time and resources and knowing when to be done.
Great question. My recommendation is do it as soon as possible when the proposal is and when the topics are released. So after you talk to that TPOC, that's when I would start doing everything, getting your research, because that time runs out. And if you have other things that are going on for you and you might have to stop and do something else, or you might have this emergency you've got to take care of with a client. So the sooner you get it done, the better, because I have heard people try to submit the proposal the last day when it's supposed to, or the day before close, and the system is just going so slow that they're not getting it done. So make sure that you do it before then. How long it takes you as far as resources, specific time, that's really up to you. Your first one will be longer because you won't have any of the wording done, which you can try to get that done beforehand. You can look at the format, you can get your template done, you can see, oh, they need past performance and work on some of the wording that you might use because you know your area of expertise and what you're probably going to go after. You can absolutely do that beforehand. But your first SBIR Phase 1 proposal will be probably the longest SBIR Phase 1 proposal you will have as far as spending time on it, because you've never done it before. So give yourself the time to do it. And also, this is what I tell myself, so I feel a little better. So I'm like, well, it'll be easier next time. And I have already done all this work, so I'll know how to do it next time.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question we have is, can I submit a full proposal for SBIR and STTR at the same time?
Yeah. There'll be different topics because one will be a SBIR and one will be an STTR. Some people even do more than one SBIR topic. There are some rules about that. If they both get awarded, you might want to make sure how that works that you're not duplicating effort. But you can apply to 5 SBIR topics and 5 STTRs if you want all at the same time. That I probably would not do that. That's a lot of work in a very short time, but you can do that. Now, if they all get awarded, that's when you might have to pick and choose and actually decline some awards because of some of the regulations.
Thank you for that, Dr. Tracy. The next one we have is, with my company, we do service agreements. What would be an ideal markup?
I think that would need more information, and I would refer you to the Apex Accelerator. As somebody that is a little bit better with the budget side of how that would work, because there are some profit and some things like that that you have to include.
Thank you. Next question is, I think you just answered that. Someone asked the same question about multiple proposals. So, alrighty. So it looks like that is all the questions that we have for right now.
Perfect. Excellent. Keep them coming. These are great. All right. Tip 9, the proposal write-up. So you wrote the proposal. You've done it. Now what? Well, one of the best things you can do is get an outside reviewer or reviewers. Sometimes people just get an outside reviewer just to make sure that the grammar makes sense. Sometimes people get an outside reviewer that does that, and then also someone that is an expert in the field so they understand. It is really easy to write something and it makes sense to you and it not make sense to an outside party because you already know what it is, right? So it's really important to get someone to read your proposal before it goes in. And again, this goes to getting it done early so that you give them time. Giving someone a 4-hour turnaround time means that you're either it's not going to get reviewed or it's not going to be a good review, right? So that's the thing, is make sure that you leave time and that you have also scheduled with people and talk to them about them reviewing your proposal. A lot of these proposals I think are 10, 12 pages, it matters, so that they can look at it, read it, and give feedback and comments. One of the best things you can do also is a great summary of your proposal right? So keep in mind, these people are all very busy, right? And again, they get so little resources to actually manage any of these projects on the government side. You want to make their job as easy as possible. So good pictures that tell a story and add value are really great. Graphs, things like that. If you can show it in a picture format and it's valuable, do that. Great summaries of what you're saying and then go into the details below it. That's fantastic. You want to make it easy for them to understand. You also want to make it easy for them to explain to someone else because they might have to say, oh, this is why I chose this one because of this. And they might directly quote something from your proposal. So keep that in mind. Also submit early. I say submit 10 days before close date. I would say at least 5, because again, you don't want, something could happen. And something could happen in your life that you're like, we just spent all this time putting this proposal together. And now we have a work emergency, you have a life emergency, and you're just not going to be able to get it submitted. Or you have to take a break, or your kid gets sick for a few days, right? So make sure that you submit them beforehand. And there's a reason this is in red. I don't know how many people wait till last day, and I get it. You want that proposal to be perfect. But you know, the best proposal is a submitted proposal. So make sure you get it in before. Don't do all that work and then not be able to submit it. And this is, the last one is kind of a pro tip. I don't see too many people do this, so you guys are in for a secret. Once you submit your proposal, I would like you to send an email to that TPOC. Remember that subject line is the most important thing you can put on there. You can put proposal submitted, and then the topic number. And then what you can put is, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. We went ahead and submitted, and I'm looking forward to getting feedback. Something like that. Again, it's just a touch point. Don't expect a reply, by the way, but it is a touch point. Again, it's to help build that relationship. And I didn't mention it, but another great thing to do is after the call with your TPOC is to create a short executive summary. When I say executive, I mean bullets. I mean very short and to the point about what you talked about and why you're excited. Be careful what you put in there because they might have told you things that they don't want kind of written down. But you can say, we're very excited. We're looking at this potential solution. Thank you for talking to us. Looking forward to working for you more. And we are definitely going to be submitting if you are. Now, what if you're not going to submit? What if you talk to this TPOC and you're like, this is a no-go for us? That's okay. I would also send them an email and I would say the same thing. Say, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it. You really clarified some wonderful things. And unfortunately, at this time, we don't think we can add value at this particular problem. So we're not going to submit a proposal. However, we would like to keep in touch if there's another problem we can help you solve. Something like that. Again, you're creating that relationship. You're letting them know what's going on, and you're talking to them like a person. Okay. So bonus tips, and then we're almost done. We'll take questions at the end, and Apex will give you a little bit of briefing, and then you guys can enjoy your day. So bonus tips. If you don't get the award, thank the TPOC anyway. Seriously, you are helping. I don't see this hardly ever, by the way, so you will absolutely stand out. You don't get that award, you've went for it, you're going to be disappointed. Like, oh, I'm so disappointed. And they may not give you much feedback besides we just didn't award you. And it could be because they only had one and they knew, you never know what happened on the other side, right? But don't take it personal and thank the TPOC anyway. And say, thank you so much for even proposing this problem. I know that this was probably a challenge to even get approved. Maybe we can work together in the future, things like that. Make it a really positive experience because again, you got to build the relationships. Let's say you do get awarded. What can you do? Well, you can make the TPOC's job as easy as possible. Seriously, make it very easy. They're going to want updates sometimes. Send them updates. Send them that executive summary. Make sure they have blurbs they can tell someone else, right? Because they're going to do that. They're going to report, how is your SBIR going? Oh, this is what's happening. I worked with a company. I've been chatting with them, and they have 2 phase 3s. So they have went all the way. And I think one of the reasons they did that is because they made their TPOC's job easy, and they made it easy for their TPOC to tell everybody about the SBIR, because that's what they need to do. They need to be your advocate and talk to other people so you get more funding later on. And they made it really easy. They actually did little videos, very short videos that they sent. And then what happened is that TPOC was able to share those videos with other people in their agency. And then go after another SBIR. You've already done one, or the STTR. You've already done one. You've already done part of that work. So the next round, do it again, right? You've already done the work. There's also some mentor protege programs that some of the big primes offer. These can be a little tricky, I mean, for real, but they are out there, and there are some good ones that they like to work with people, especially if they have won a SBIR award. So the cool thing about SBIRs and STTRs that is not talked about a ton and is, I think, one of the reasons to go after them in the first place is that after you get a phase 2, the government can now sole source to you. That means they don't have to do a competition. If they found something that you did in that SBIR and they need that funded, they can just give you the funding, which means that large companies can partner with small companies to be part of that funding vehicle now. And then there's also the DoD small business offices. I put a link here, business.defense.gov. It's a listing of the small business offices. Once you get your business ironed out, and if you get a phase 1, it might not be a good idea. It might be a good idea to contact them and let them know what you've done and that you would like to work with them. And because sometimes they don't know what SBIRs got awarded, and they often don't know what the solution was, right, for those problems. So that's a good way. And that's it for the tips. What questions do you guys have?
Alrighty, so Let's see. I don't see any questions at this time in the chat. So if you have questions, go ahead and ask them.
In the meantime, if you are looking for where to be relationships, where to go, and even if you're not in Central Florida, the Tech Grove also does a lot of hybrid and virtual events. You can scan that QR code called subscribe up there at the top, and that will lead you to our mailing list, and you just sign up. It's free, and you sign up and you'll get emails about our events. If you would like to contact me, there's my contact information. If you scan that QR code, that will take you to my LinkedIn page, and feel free to connect with me. I love talking to people about SBIRs or small business funding opportunities, whatever, and answering questions.
A great question that someone asked was, Dr. Tracy, are you available to talk with someone if they have a question about a SBIR?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can reach me. You can go to that email address, tracy.boyd@ucf.edu, and send me an email. And then what I'll do is I will send you a Calendly link, which is a link where you can schedule your own appointment with me, so we don't have to go back and forth on times and dates that work. And then we can have a chat. I'd be happy to help.
All right, awesome. Well, it doesn't look like I have any more questions now. So definitely, if you have any questions and you didn't get a chance to ask today, please definitely either reach out to Dr. Tracy. As she stated, she's more than happy to help. Or if you asked a question today and she directed you over to the Apex Accelerator, make sure you get connected with us so that way we can go ahead and help you with those other areas that you may need assistance. Other than that, it looks like we should be all good to go. I don't see any more questions coming in. Oh, I do see a question here. How much percentage will be bonus tips?
Pardon?
Are
How
your
much percentage what?
will be
Can you
bonus
hear me?
tips? Yes, I can hear you.
How much percentage will be? I guess I don't understand the question.
I don't think I do either. But maybe they're referring to the bonus tips that you had before. So, and I think you kind of went over those. So we're all good. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Tracy, for your presentation. Before you all go, we do just have some things that we want to share with you all. The very
Oh, and
first, oh yeah, go ahead.
do you mind if I interrupt? There's one more thing I wanted to share that I just
Go ahead.
remembered. I wrote a note
Mhm.
even, and I still forgot. If you would like to get involved with Tech Grove and you're like, what else? I will tell you that there is something really cool going on November 7th. We are having something called a juice bar, but we are having some SBIR, like heads of programs, that are going to come and do an AMA, Ask Anything. Ask Me Anything. So it's November 7th. You just go to the Tech Grove website and you'll see it. It's the juice bar. And it would be great for you guys because you will hear right from them, and they will be able to answer your questions. Little update.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Tracy. So yes, we definitely promote that event. Want to make sure that you guys are able to get access, like she said, to some very good information, be able to ask the source directly. So that will be a great event for you to attend. As you can probably see here up on the screen, we have another event, our third and last, sadly, SBIR series of the year with Dr. Tracy. We are going to be hosting an expert panel. So if you're familiar with panels, they come with a lot of great information, a lot of good questions, a lot of great interaction. So we're really looking forward to this panel here. So if you got some good information out of this webinar and you're looking to get some more and kind of further your knowledge, definitely recommend scanning the QR code or going to the website, registering for that. That is our third and last part of this SBIR series. So we are excited. And then outside of that, we do have some other education resources that are offered through the Florida Apex Accelerator. So you're familiar with our training. So this is one of the trainings that we do offer. But if you visit our website, you'll be able to see our statewide trainings that we offer, not only in regards to government contracting, but as I spoke about a little bit earlier with the SBDC, also helping with business development as well. These are actually all outdated, unfortunately. So all of these, we will get an updated list of these Apex events. So we do have a lot of Apex events coming up in November. One of them is actually going to be for celebrating National Veterans Week. So if you are a veteran in the chat, that is an event that you want to be at. It's a webinar that is hosted by our SBA Senior Area Manager, Ed Ramos. He'll be going over all of the resources that the SBA provides to veterans. So definitely I'll make sure I send you all that. And then also Gavology. If you're not familiar with Gavology is like an amazing resource that the Apex Accelerators have access to. And if you're a client of ours, the good thing is you don't have to pay for it. We have a coupon code for you all. So if you're looking to get registered to Gavology, they have some SBIR resources as well, and lots of other informational webinars and resources in regards to government contracting. So highly recommend, if you want to take advantage of that, go ahead and just sign up to become a client of the Florida Apex Accelerator, and we can get you set up in Gavology. And then your feedback, as I mentioned earlier at the very beginning of the webinar, we would definitely appreciate your feedback. We're so grateful and thankful that so many of you take the time out of your day to come visit us and see us and listen to the things that we have to say that we hope are helpful. We bring in outside speakers like Dr. Tracy from different organizations to try to provide more value to you all. So we want to just see if you are actually getting the value out of these events. So if you look in the chat, I have already inserted the survey there. Please go ahead and just take a moment before you hop off today. Shouldn't take you any more than 30 seconds to just fill out that survey. Let us know how we're doing. And like I said, it's a great way for us to be able to continue to provide these no-cost resources to you. So if you do appreciate all of these webinars and seminars that you're able to attend at no cost, these surveys help us to continue to do that. So we ask that you please go ahead, take a moment, click the link in the chat, and go ahead and take that survey for us, please. And then, as I mentioned, if you are needing assistance from the Apex Accelerator, if Dr. Tracy kind of diverted you back to us, here is our contact information. So my name, Steve and Kara South here, all of our contact information. And as Steve would say, he's not here today, but he would say, if you know the first and last name of anybody at UCF, then you know their email pretty much. So all of our emails are first dot last name at ucf.edu. So please reach out to us if you have any questions, you're looking to get connected with resources, and if there's anything else that we can do to help you all. And as I mentioned, getting registered as a client, there's no obligation or cost associated with it. You can go ahead and sign up to become a client with the Florida Apex Accelerators, and we'll be happy to assist you one-on-one to give you more hands-on experience with one of our consultants that we have here. But I do just want to say, now that we are at the end of this presentation, shout out to all of you who have joined us today, whether you've been here from the beginning or you joined a little bit in the middle. We appreciate you and your time and coming in, staying with us on this webinar and learning from Dr. Tracy today. I do just want to say thank you, Dr. Tracy. Thank you, Kara. Kara's on the call today. She answered some of you all's questions, so thank you. And I appreciate both of you. And I just want to say, I hope all of you have a great rest of your day and you stay safe and stay connected. We're looking forward to helping you all. So please stay connected. But you all have a good one. Bye-bye.